Okay, so picture this. You're in the middle of nowhere, fighting God knows what. You're the last one left from your squad, but you have an ace up your sleeve. You hear the familiar sound of rockets, and suddenly, a 40-ton Superman falls directly towards you. The entire battle lies on you and your Titan.
Welcome back, pilot.
Or, you could simply use this mechanical monstrosity to impress women and deal with the inconveniences of city life, with the cover of Frank Sinatra's My Shadow and Me playing in the background. This was a very dramatic example, but the use of oldies and medias is not a recent trope, and thanks to the internet, things are a little different now. Songs like My Shadow and Me and similar get played in shows, movies, and games, which lead people like you and me to Google these once irrelevant songs. But why? Why do we enjoy listening to these old tunes so much in contrast to the grim atmospheres they're often paired with? Why do developers enjoy using these songs so much? To understand that, we must first look into the effect music has on video games. Music as a medium has been used to sway a listener's emotions towards a specific direction, and this concept is even more important for video games. Let's take for example Obsidian Studios' Fallout New Vegas, a game about a post-apocalyptic wasteland that takes place in the barren deserts of Nevada and the gambling den that is Las Vegas. In between the lore-dense towns and dynamic characters, there is a whole lot of nothing but sand and dirt roads that you must travel through.
I don't like sand.
Well, we hate sand too, so it's the developer's job to make sure that we, the player, are not completely bored to death as we make our way through the world they created. And thus the solution lies on the audio team to make the environment sound as immersive as possible. From the long decayed, echoing gunshots to the dense layered ambiences, these are the sounds that all pull the player further into the post-apocalyptic world of the Mojave Wasteland. To sum it up in one phrase, the Southwest in the future. The game beautifully achieves this effect with its layers of various sounds and instruments. The sparse, drawn-out strings, the sounds of percussion, and the keys of the piano give the ambient atmosphere that fills our imaginations of what the post-nuclear Southwest world would sound like. The purpose of music is to set the mood. Now, if they're trying to set the mood, then why on the other side of the road is there 50s pat rock music and country songs? Lead designer of Fallout New Vegas wanted a different vibe from the lonely desert. This much is evident before you even start the game. The first thing shown is the pre-nuclear Vegas poster that pans out to the empty, disordered casino and then into the dirty city streets of Vegas with Frank Sinatra's Blue Moon distantly ringing in the background. For such a romantic song, it would seem almost out of place, but it really works. Looking at it a little deeper, these songs are at the point in which they're too old to be considered outdated pop, yet too new to sound like 18th century Europe, making them the perfect stylistic choice of music that is timeless. Among that, older music like these is also cheaper for studios to license. Artistically, we enjoy it so much because of the sharp contrast between the environment and what we're listening to. To further explain my point, there's no other place to look than the Ayn Rand of Disneyland, Rapture.
It was not impossible to build Rapture at the bottom of the sea. It was impossible to build it anywhere else.
In this dystopian underwater city of rapid individualism and superpower-inducing chems, we once again encounter old-timey music, although in this setting it's a little more fitting from the Fallout series considering it's the 1960s. In the BioShock trailer, we see the inclusion of Bobby Darin's Beyond the Sea with a whopping 14 million views on YouTube. Along with that, there are older songs from the 30s and 40s from artists like Ella Fitzgerald. In BioShock and Fallout, you are dealing with a combination of fast-paced action, story-dense characters, or overwhelming environments. The thing that provides a cushion to our senses are these songs. In a quote by researchers, "In our study, we found that relaxing and highly pleasant self-chosen music reduced pain and patience. Although this was not directly measured, passive distraction, reward, reprisal, and expectation of pain relief may have been mechanism present in this analgesic effect. perhaps due to the familiarity, pleasantness, and the sense of control that music provided. Bringing this back to us while we're playing, we get absorbed into the game and it overloads the senses. To take a break from killing abominations, the sudden sounds of a slow romantic doo-wop in the background work as horse tranquilizer. Whether we are in miserable conditions or happy times, we tend to seek out things that bring us warmth. Even if it would be contradictory to stop and listen while you're going through a virtual life or death circumstance, we have a knack for avoiding our responsibilities and seeking pleasure that we've dubbed it procrastination. This sharp contrast of what the reality is and what you're listening to is what gives it such a strong artistic effect. Speaking of sharp contrasts of reality, newsflash, but we aren't in the 50s anymore, but despite that, oldies music is blooming. For example, Marvel's WandaVision, which included the Splatter's Twilight Time, its view count sits on YouTube with 4.8 million views. Looking at the various Blue Moon videos, they all sit over 1 million views with comment sections absolutely infested with Fallout quotes and references. People talk about the good old days when music was good, but what about the days when literally any song is at your fingertips and at every whim? These new games and movies keep alive these old songs by introducing them to a new generation of people. At this rate, people like Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin may even become the next Beethoven or Mozart in a few hundred years. In the comments section of one of these videos, one intelligent gentleman makes a very acute observation, and I quote, "Almost every person that plays the BioShock franchise gets obsessed with music from the 50s and 60s. Yes they do, including me. My first ever smartphone, the lightning-fast Kyocera Event, still holds the YouTube to MP3 downloads from artists like Paul Anka, Dean Martin, and Nat King Cole. If it wasn't for these games and these songs, I would have lost 50% of my musical identity. These songs are special to us because they're a little slice from heaven from a world long gone. There is no Freudian explanation or deep conspiracy to it, it's just good music. And personally, I hope this trend continues so I can keep adding old gems to my growing playlist of songs."
Put your head on my